Howdy, folks. I'm Genius Gemini, greedily garnering great grades.
I'm Amber, who also happens to be a Gemini.
I wonder who wrote today's tongue twister. Who could that possibly be? And I guess here are more great grades for us to garner if you consider Reddit a grade and that it made the grade, which it didn't. Let's get started. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for giving my daughter a job? I'm a 45-year-old female and my daughter is 16. Recently expressed a desire to make money, but she has always shown discomfort in public spaces. She had a panic attack at her Walmart job, and I gave her the option to be my maid. She cleans and she does most of the chores, and also generally attends to me if needed, since I'm in a wheelchair. My sister came over and saw her waiting on me in an apron and calling me ma'am. She doesn't have to, it's just something that I encourage. And our sister called our house Cinderella. She said no girl wants to be her mother's maid, and scolded me more harshly than teasing would be. Am I the jerk? Alright, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Opie's being a bit of a jerk here. I think there's nothing wrong with offering your kid money to do chores. I think that's totally fine. But I think, treating her like a maid is where it gets a little awkward. Having her wear, an apron and, because most chores won't call for an apron unless she's, cooking or something like that.
Well, I did read the comments, and it does look like the apron just happened to be something she was wearing at the time.
Okay.
It wasn't really like a permanent fixture of her maid outfit or uniform or
Yeah, 'cause
whatever you
I would
have.
find it really weird if Opie made her wear, a maid uniform.
Yeah, I think she had, if I remember from the comments, she had just gotten done washing dishes or cooking something or something like that, and that's why she was wearing the apron at the time. And I think that there's definitely some questionable things here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's 16, she still lives at home, and making her call you ma'am, I think is a
Yeah.
little bit off-putting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that most people, there is a cultural thing where some places, calling people sir and ma'am is the thing to do. I mean, I guess in some respect, like our dad used to make us call him sir, right, or yes sir type of thing, right? Which I mean is when we were in trouble or whatnot here. Which I mean I think is again one of those things where it's like there's some level of cultural thing going on here.
Yeah, but I don't like that. I don't like it at all.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like it's very much, I think, fallen out of favor in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of places, right? But if OP is a little bit more on the old-fashioned side, then they might not register why this comes across as in poor taste. So I think that they should really reconsider how they're handling the situation. I understand that, like, if they're in a more traditional type of household and they're trying to give their daughter an opportunity to earn money, but there doesn't need to be as strict of like that protocol or etiquette type of thing in that
Mm-hmm.
respect. And I can understand why OP's sister would see this and be like, you are taking this too far.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I think, again, it's fine to pay your kids to do chores, but treat it like that, like your kids doing chores. Don't make it like this maid situation, because you already have a power dynamic at play being the parent.
Mm-hmm.
Don't add an extra, weird employer dynamic to it.
Yeah. Well, let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And no confidence 5235 says, You're the jerk, and why do you encourage her to call you ma'am? That's really weird. You're her mother, not some stranger. And you need to put your daughter in therapy. She needs to learn to adjust to public spaces, or she will struggle hard in college and the workplace. But I think you don't want her to get better. You want her to wait on you hand and foot for the rest of your life. You're very selfish. And OP replies, She's in therapy. Smart people don't make assumptions like this. And ex-entrepreneur X says, if this is real, you're the jerk. I can get paying for the housework, but encouraging her to call you ma'am in 2024 is weird. So is requiring an apron for her to wait on you. It's 2024. People don't use sir and ma'am anymore due to misgendering. You aren't helping her by encouraging her to use those words specifically. Instead, better to teach her to use gender-neutral politeness. Is there anything else that you would need? Is just as polite without the sir or ma'am attached. And OP replies, I don't require an apron. She wore it at the time due to doing kitchen work. And here's a comment thread that I'm just going to read into the comment thread. Catherine the Great says, what are you paying her? What are her hours? What are you doing to help her in her severe social anxiety? Edit to include OP's response. $50 per day. 2. I ask her to aim for at least 4. And 3. Sending her to therapy. And $50 a day for at least 4 hours of work. That's only $12.50 per hour. You're taking advantage of your daughter, and you know it. And of course, OP replies with that particular quote. I mean, I don't know, $12.50 per hour for a 16-year-old is still a decent amount of money.
Depends on what state you live in. Like, it could be better than minimum wage. It could be worse. Like
Mm-hmm.
in Maine, that would be below minimum wage, but there are other states where that would be above minimum wage. So,
Yeah, I mean, certainly there are places where this might be a good wage and it might be a bad wage. I mean, it really just depends on the cost of living of the area and whatnot. So, I don't know. I would have to know more about the area that they're in to give a judgment on whether or not OP is taking advantage of them or not. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Helping My Parents Out with Their Phone Bill After They Ignored My Advice? In the country where my parents live, the phone companies are a ripoff. They charge about $16 a day for data, texting, and voice calling when you're roaming. My parents came to visit us in Europe, where my son was born, and they stayed with us for a month. I told them that they should get a local SIM card since they were like $50 for 50 gigabytes and unlimited calling back in Canada. They said that they wouldn't be on their phones all the time and that they didn't want a different SIM card in their phones. I said that I would pay for the SIM cards, but they would not listen. Well, they just got their phone bill. Each of them kept their phone on and called family and friends and sent pictures of my son and their trip back to home every single day. They were here for 35 days. At $16 a day, their bill was an extra $560 each. They called me and said that they couldn't afford an extra $1,000 bill after their vacation. I paid for their flights, and they stayed in my home for 26 days, and I used points for their hotels for the other 9 days that they traveled around. All they paid was for food and souvenirs for those 9 days. I refreshed their memories, and I said if they wanted, then I would send them $100 that I offered to pay for the European SIM cards. They are upset that I won't pay the bill just because I'm being petty about them not doing as I suggested. I declined to argue with them any further. My mom posted on Facebook about how her rich son, I'm not rich, messed them over because they wanted to visit. I ignored them until people started saying that I was a jerk for doing that to them. So I literally posted receipts, the cost of their flights, hotels, restaurants while they stayed with me, and we showed them a good time. I also posted screenshots of them saying that they would stay off their phones so that they didn't have to do what I said. Pretty much everyone started saying that they were not smart for ignoring good advice and greedy for asking more after my wife and I already did so much for them. My mom is mad. All right, folks, what do you think?
not the jerk. I mean, you gave them fair warning. You offered to even buy the SIM cards for them. There's not much more you could have done at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this was really kind of biting the hand that feeds them.
Hmm.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink, right? And in this particular case, OP tried telling their parents that this was going to cost them an arm and a leg, and they refused to listen. And I can understand them not wanting to put a different SIM card in their phone because it can be a hassle to get the SIM card reactivated or refreshed and stuff like that. You have to turn your phone off and then on, and then sometimes it takes like a day. So I get the hassle of it, right? But I really feel like they were being if they if they were really serious about not using their phones, then they should have kept them off, right?
Hmm.
And $16 a day adds up quick, as they have seen. And I don't know what they were thinking, because the moment you start using that phone in that day, it's going to cost you the $16. So if they had used it like 4 times throughout the trip, that's
A little bit more expensive because that had been $64 per
oh well, I guess
card.
yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Sophie19441 says, They are your parents. What made you think that they would take advice from their son? You would have thought that they would have been smart and figured out the difference. They made their own bed. Now let them sleep in it. Sorry that your parents are jerks and not you. And OP replies, All they had to do was keep their phones on airplane mode and wait until they got back home to talk to the other people, or use WhatsApp or Facebook. I put my Wi-Fi on their phones as soon as I got them home.
Well, yeah, that's it exactly. Like, if they wanted to send pictures, they could have just used Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Like,
Why were they sending them over text too,
I
right?
don't
I
know.
mean, clearly they have Facebook, so they could have done that, right? Yeah, those phone bills, they can add up fast.
Mm-hmm.
Roaming is not fun. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Wanting My Girlfriend to Stop Pole Dancing? I'm a 26-year-old male, and I've been with my girlfriend, Ella, a 23-year-old female, for a little over a year now. Ella has always done pole dancing since I've known her, and asked me early on if I had any problems with it. I didn't, and I thought that it was just exercise. Now, though, we're running into problems. She made a post on social media about how all pole dancing comes from adult entertainment and how people should honor those roots. She competes in 7-inch heels and costumes with her butt hanging out and is proud of what she does. I started a conversation about how maybe she should stop competing or posting about it, and she said no. She loved what she did and was proud of it and wasn't going to stop. I brought up her costumes and how maybe she could wear more covering costumes, and she laughed at me. She told me that she needs skin grip and finds it fun to wear little sparkly costumes. I said that there are grippy leggings and that she shouldn't enjoy wearing skimpy outfits in front of other people. She told me that this wasn't up for discussion and that she had asked me about this before we had a relationship and nothing had changed, and called me a jerk for trying to control what she did with her body. Our mutual friends are saying that I knew this before I entered our relationship and that I'm a jerk for developing these feelings, but I think that is fairly reasonable. All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, OP is being a jerk here. She was very clear with you up front that this was not something that's going to change. It's fine if your feelings on it change, but then it's time for you to exit the relationship, not to try to change her.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's important here. She was very upfront. She was very honest about what she does. And I think that OP should have investigated this a little bit further if they knew that they had certain problems with certain aspects of pole dancing. But it's clear that they didn't seem to have enough interest in what her hobbies were to actually investigate it further, right? And I think that sometimes people have come to be incompatible, and like you said, he clearly has had a change of heart on how she's doing this and doesn't really approve of it. And at that point in time, if that might be a deal breaker for him in this relationship. But he really shouldn't be trying to change her or change her hobbies, right? She enjoys doing this. This is something that she wants to do. There isn't going to be much room to compromise when she said, take it or leave it. I'm going to do this, right? So in the end, you kind of just wasted everybody's time. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And there was a deleted comment here. And OP replies to it, I love her, she's smart, gorgeous, and funny. I'd rather have her in my life than not, and I just don't want her half naked around other people. Well then, if you don't want her out of your life, then you have to compromise on this, right?
Right, exactly. And this is a very frustrating thing because it happens all the time that, people will get into a relationship and they'll like that their partner dresses a certain way and does certain activities, but then it's like, no, you need to stop doing this because I should be the only one to see you like that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, that's not fair. You knew who the person was going in. You don't get to just change them now.
Yeah. And MD Thomas says, she told you when you got together that she did this and asked you if you were okay with it. You said yes, and nothing has changed. You can want what you want, but you haven't given any good reason for her to stop. All of your reasons are about her showing body. You want her to cover up more. You do not have ownership of her body just because you're dating her. If it upsets you that much, you're free to leave the relationship. You're the jerk. And OP replies, she didn't ask if I was okay with it as much as I do this. If you don't like it, then this isn't gonna work.
Well, exactly. She told you what she, like,
Is it all right if I continue to do my pole dancing?
like she doesn't need to ask your permission.
Yeah.
She was letting you know this is something that's non-negotiable for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's totally fine in relationships to have some hobby that's non-negotiable. Like, I need to be able to do this thing. If that doesn't work for you, we're not going to work.
Yeah. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she just so happens to have a joke.
Why did 5 want to be doubled?
Well, 5 would want to be doubled because then you would have a double 5 or 10.
so that it could get even.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I have Earl Grey. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy special Sunday. And folks, you know what makes it special? You do, and Amber too.
And Brian, too.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on ignoring good advice.
You are free to take advice or leave it, but at the end of the day, you are responsible for the consequences of those choices.
Exactly. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!